religion and specifically about how it's like a core principle of religion to avoid premarital intimacy. And you'll see this in religions that are orthodox or traditional, and that's should be an indicator to you that that's what the religion actually is. Because if it's not traditional, then it's like, or it's not the complete thing, then it's not really the religion. You know, you think of somebody who's religious, and what strikes you as, oh, this person really is religious? Well, definitely managing the sexual force in a way that it doesn't interfere with love, in a way that it doesn't interfere with people wanting self-intimacy even more than wanting a loving commitment. And that's what it means if somebody's having self-intimacy before love. Excuse me. If someone's engaging in premarital intimacy before committing to someone, then that shows that that's what they're really after. But they're seeking pleasure. They're not seeking to please the other person because they care about them, which is the design of pleasure. Pleasure should be used to please either yourself or those you care about. And looking more into it, you see that when people pursue these short-term gratifications, that you'll see that the core aspect of it is not worshiping Goddess feet either. It's not centered around vulva. It's more centered around the man dominating the woman with standard intercourse, and it's not a feeling of love, and it's not a feeling of truth either, because you're hiding the truth of who you are. You're not investigating who you are, your values are, and how they might relate to someone. Instead it's escaping into pleasure. And you know, the ultimate goal of this is not, well, it's not exactly more pleasure, but the irony is you actually end up getting more pleasure because you get consistent sexual access to your spouse. Right? Instead of at most maybe a new person every weekend or something. And so, but some men might argue that seek out premarital intimacy is that the woman was okay with it and wanted it. And never should we gauge as men, we shouldn't gauge it based upon what other people, what women want. We shouldn't operate on that. We should be operating on what we want, and then the woman entering that frame. Like, we want these values in our life. We want a woman with these qualities, maybe to have this, many children or no children. And and this is the ideal scenario. This isn't for in terms of like what I think most people should try to use in their life. In if they're seeking a traditional two-child heterosexual relationship, marriage. So that's that, and then there's so many other issues. When people engage in we'll call it PM, premarital intimacy, they end up wanting to marry or be with somebody who isn't really, you know, if they say that they want marriage, and they say they want to get married, and they say they want true love, but they're not seeking it in the most efficient way. And also they're very quick to shoot people down when they talk about marriage, and they suggest that they don't have any experience. I learn from other people's mistakes. That's the best way to learn. The second, I guess, alternative way is to learn from your own experiences, which means suffering. Why suffer what somebody already has gone through? Now, what happens is when premarital intimacy happens, and by the way, anyone talking about, you know, using contraceptives like condoms makes it less pleasurable and makes it almost a tease. Just like not being able to see the person as much as you may want makes it a tease. See, the problem with relying on women to you know, women's judgment on if they allow the relationship, if they allow premarital intimacy, is that when they do that, they often do that in order to try to trap the men, and they don't do this consciously, but women try to get the men sexually attached to them, and that they think will convince the man to change. And this is like a flaw in women's like logic somehow. And maybe men do it too, but I don't think so. I think what men do is they just want to get off as soon as possible, and you can't. It's not a reliable metric for whether somebody is a good match for you. You know, the question of, is somebody right for you? And then with the premarital intimacy, it makes people want to, it makes it harder to correctly perceive what's even going on. You know, they can't even see like with clarity, right? can't even see if the person's somebody who's a good match for them, because all they can think about is the orgasm. So that's not good, right? And then what else? Then you have the dark side of having a child, and it you know what? I just realized it makes the whole concept of having a family and having a child not special. It makes it so people want to avoid that just to get off. So it's contrary to the human experience. And if you look at religions, there's a point that they sometimes emphasize of about how they suggest that is for procreation. Now, I think they're partially accurate in that should be why people, that the basis of the relationship should be for procreation, but there's nothing better than driving late at night to get to a destination. So where was I? So when you're okay, so premarital intimacy, it's like marriage is sex. Like, marriage is not defined by the marriage ceremony or legal thing. It's defined by the closest experience you can have with someone, which is sexual engagement. Now, what happens is people act like it's casual sex, but it's really, when the reason men do it and are not getting attached is because they see it as like defeating someone or conquering, and that's because they unconsciously don't like the idea of labeling a woman their authority, they're like a mother or aunt, and they feel objectified by that on an unconscious level, and therefore what they do at a conscious level is they yeah, I'm about to wrap up, you guys. It's been a good hello, and I'm hoping for more engagement soon. But yeah, check out some of my other recent live videos. I've had some really cool ones. But yeah, thanks. Thanks very much, you guys. And I'm going to say aloha.